Can a child with autism grow up to be fully independent? It feels like what we spend most of our time doing as parents is helping our children to become independent. From the first time that they crawl, to the first word they speak, to the first step they take, all of it is for us a celebration, a milestone achieved along this road to independence. So, when you discover that your child has a disability, you have to adjust your entire mindset because you now begin to learn that developmental milestones have been moved elsewhere along this road for a disabled child, or they may not be achievable, and the future for you and your child then becomes uncertain. Independence in the modern world means a lot of things. Firstly, it means being able to live in your own home or to have your own apartment. It means having a job and holding down a job. It means being able to manage your finances, which includes opening and keeping a bank account, paying your bills on time, investing your money, managing your own household with chores such as cooking and laundry and cleaning, being able to drive a car and to have a license, or if not, then being able to use public transport independently. It also includes the social aspects, such as being able to find and to keep friends, possibly even a partner, having to maintain relationships with family members and with friends. And it also, of course, includes being able to take care of your own health. And this includes things like regular exercise, healthy eating, and regular visits with doctors. So, when a child has autism, they of course have communication difficulties or social impairments or repetitive behaviors or all of these. And the possibility also exists that they have comorbid conditions such as anxiety, and all of this will inhibit their ability to acquire these independent behaviors. So, the most important question that then comes to the mind of a parent is how do we help them to progress away from the challenges of their disability to the state of independence that I've just described to you? And is that degree of independence even possible for them? And this, of course, leads to the next issue, which is that there are so many therapies and treatments available. And of course, what most of them do tend to imply as part of their pitch or their sale is the prospect of independence through communication, through social development, and the shaping of your child's behaviors. So, in this quest for independence for our children, we do turn to these treatments and therapies because independence is quite possibly the thing that we desire the most. It is a kind of assurance for us as parents that our children will be okay, even when the time comes when we are no longer around to help them. So there are many therapies out there. There's of course ABA, which is considered to be the gold standard for autism, in spite of the many recent criticisms that have arisen around it. Then there's OT, which is said to help children become more independent by the teaching of vital life skills. Then there's physical therapy, which is said to address poor muscle tone and to support the development of gross motor skills. And of course, effective movement is vital for physical independence. And then, of course, you have a whole range of other treatments that have not been empirically vetted. And so it's easy for the marketers of these therapies to sell hope, but they really have no proven results to be able to justify their sale. Things, for example, like chelation therapy, which is a drug therapy that is designed to purge the body of lead and mercury. There are also a whole lot of injections, such as B12 injections, and a whole range of other supplements. And then, of course, there is regular treatment, which is through the medical profession, through clinical psychologists, pediatric neurologists, and child psychiatrists. So, parents in the midst of all this need to be able to see the wood from the trees, to be able to choose wisely. And this is not always easy in a situation where every therapy or treatment is pitched as being a solution or is touted as being something that is needed in order to help your child to achieve independence. So here's what I think about independence. In all its many facets and phases. And I feel that some of these facets are most important as goals for children with autism. Firstly, I think it's important for your child to be able to learn to communicate, whether it be through verbal communication or if your child is nonverbal, then through any other effective method of communication, such as sign language or the use of an augmentative communication device. Communication is a vital part of independence and it is also strongly tied to social interaction. A therapist who is supporting your child should, in my opinion, be working towards establishing basic and practical communication skills which will allow your child to express his needs and wants. Um, then, in addition to communication, it's important for your child to be taught and to, so that he is able to manage basic life skills, things like his own hygiene, dressing himself, taking care of his possessions, having balanced eating habits. Then, of course, you have children with physical or motor problems who would benefit by professional help, such as from a physical therapist. And if your child is at school, whether it be a special school or a remedial school, he would require the help of remedial teachers and therapists and possibly an individualized education plan to help him to progress through regular grades or through adjusted grades. So now the question that we obviously ask is, if we do all of these things, if we try to help our children to become satisfactory communicators, if we guide or encourage them to interact socially, if we help them to learn all of the basic life skills, and even if we maybe support them to graduate from school, will they then go on to live independent lives? Because this is obviously what we are all most worried about. Unfortunately, the statistics on this matter do suggest otherwise. Studies that have been done in the UK and the USA tracking the progress of autistic children over time do not indicate that autistics, for the most part, grow up to be independent in the way that we think of it as being able to manage, live on their own, hold down a job, manage their own finances and their daily living needs. Most autistics continue to need support and help throughout their lives, and they will continue to live with relatives or in group homes or residential facilities. And also, the vast majority of autistic people do not find or keep jobs. And of course, this inability to find or to hold down a job is obviously related to their social and communication impairments, but it's also related to the failure of governments to adequately support them through creating specific programs for the disabled. Many autistics also experience difficulties with being able to handle and manage money. They are and can be quite vulnerable in this regard and in many other respects. And in fact, only small percentages of high functioning autistics are employed, while the percentages are even smaller for autistics who have low functioning autism. In the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders, there was a study published. The results of the study were published in June of 2020. The paper was titled Autistic Disorder, a 20-Year Chronicle. It tracked the lives of 187 autistic individuals over a period of 20 years, and it concluded that very few of these autistic individuals do become independent. The study found that 99% of them still lived with relatives or in homes or in residential facilities, while only 7 of the group achieved post high school qualifications, of which 3 of these were from college disability programs. Many autistic people are willing to work, and they can, in fact, be hardworking, dependable, honest, productive. But sadly, these qualities do not always lead to them becoming employed. So often you will find that they will work in sheltered programs or they will work as volunteers. In other words, they will be receiving very little or no payment in return for labor. And this type of scenario cannot lead to independence, as the money they earn will never be enough to cover even a portion of their living expenses. So, until the situation changes, what are some of the things that we can try to do to help our children in the long term and for the future? So, I'm going to list them for you. Firstly, I think it's important that you have a will. You draw up a will which is properly executed, and in the will, you would have appointed a suitable guardian who understands and accepts the responsibility of guardianship for your child, even if your child then grows into adulthood. Um, then, secondly, make financial provision for your child for the future. Therapy, treatment, education, all of it is important, but you need to be aware of your funds as a whole and that you are, in fact, allocating to your child's needs over months, over years, and preparing for your child's future. A financial plan, such as one that includes the creation of a trust, is important as it will provide for your child when you are no longer able to do so. Throughout the years of therapy and special schooling, be aware that you must at the same time continue to set aside funds or make suitable investments to provide for your child's future. I would also recommend that you set out your wishes clearly in writing in terms of what you would wish for your child and that you keep that document together with your will so that your child's guardian can understand what your expectations are. One of your wishes might even be to place your child in a suitable group home, and these facilities you should, of course, visit and vet before suggesting them as an option. And as I've said before, your child must be able to communicate in a way that matches his ability using any suitable method of communication. A therapist or a remedial teacher should plan, teach, support your family in this regard because ultimately a child with the ability to communicate has a far greater degree of independence than a child who is nonverbal or mostly nonverbal and who has not been taught to use a suitable means of communication to express himself, to express his needs, his wants, and anything that is troubling him. Help your child to be as independent as possible in terms of all the basics of life, in terms of his eating, his dressing, his bathing, exercising, taking care of his possessions. If a child is independent in these ways, then it's going to be more likely that he's capable of integrating into a home or into a home with other family members if your circumstances should change in the future. Make him ready to face a world, uh, whether or not you are going to be a part of his daily life, or try as much as possible to do so. Every bit of independence, however minor it may seem to you, however far it may seem from this ideal that we construct of adult independence, all of these steps of independence are important for an autistic child. And then, of course, for children who are so able, teach them the additional skills that they are capable of learning and being productive, such as things like cooking, cleaning, doing chores. And then, of course, for those who are able to complete high school and to have a tertiary education, to acquire a diploma or a degree, and then to go on to obtain employment, this is, of course, the best possible outcome. Therapy is important, but it should not lead you to believe that independence is its inevitable outcome. In other words, there is this illusion in the vast majority of cases at present that therapy is tied to, um, to independence as we see it. We have to be aware that currently complete independence is not the norm for people with autism. Accordingly, as parents, we need to make important decisions and put practical plans in place to provide for our children's futures. And when I say children, I include autistic adults. And if this is not what you expected to hear, or if it appears to be a surrender of some kind, I assure you that it is not. What it is a combination of realism and hope, doing what is best for your child. And children with autism need both of these approaches, one both of hope and one of realism, to meet their demands and to keep them safe.